Alright, so the Batman 2 was originally supposed to release next year. However, due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, it has understandably been delayed. But I'm going to throw my head in the ring for a villain I'd love to see in the next Batman film, which currently has a planned release date of October 3rd, 2025. Since it's a long ways off, there's of course no way to really know who will be in it until we eventually see a trailer. Maybe it'll include Clayface, Scarecrow, or even Poison Ivy. I'm already just assuming Joker might be in it, considering that he appeared at the end of the first movie. He might not play a major role, or maybe they're just building him up. Who knows? It's even possible they might even include or reference the new but popular Court of Owls, or even Professor Pig. The point is, Batman has a huge rogues gallery, so the possibilities are virtually limitless. But I'll do you all better and say one that probably no one is talking about, and that would be Lord Deathman. I'm not even joking, that's a real villain. I actually found out about him maybe 5 years ago when I borrowed this book, Bat Manga: The Secret History of Batman in Japan, from the library of the university I attended. These stories were translated into English but had some pretty cool extra promo stuff and some Japanese text. So of course, this is where I was first introduced to Lord Deathman, and to me that's just such a cool name and I really dig his design, which consists of a skeletal-like design in some of the early issues and ended up becoming a full-on skeleton later. So, what's special about Lord Deathman? Well, originally Lord Deathman was a Japanese gangster that mastered yoga, being able to slow his heart down to the point that he's essentially able to fake his death. Though that has probably changed in later adaptations. Eventually he learns how to regenerate and would be known as the Master of Death in some iterations. He's actually a really old villain too, first appearing in Batman issue 180, which released in 1966. But it wasn't until the Bat Manga book release that he'd become slightly more popular. However, I didn't really know that at the time. He's just such a troll though, and often tries to tempt Batman into breaking his famous one rule, which is no killing. And he's free to commit any crime he wants because what's the worst that can happen? Death? He laughs at death. And Batman. With there being several examples of this trolling in the comics. His main gimmick is either cheating death or being immortal, and he even predates Ra's al Ghul by about 5 years, who is also immortal, but for another reason. I just used Ra's as an example because he's another Batman rogue that Lord Deathman could be compared to in a way. While I think I've seen that he's become more well known recently, I still think it'd be funny to put him in more media. If there are also problems with certain details like his backstory, not that I'd expect it anyway because he's already perfect, the writers or whoever is adapting him could always tweak some details for modernity or at least make it more fitting to the setting of the film. Similar to Mr. Freeze, another infamous Batman rogue. Originally known as Mr. Zero, then after some time changing it to the iconic name of Mr. Freeze, he just committed ice-based crimes and was mostly considered a joke character, up there in the ranks with Crazy Quilt, Polka Dot Man, and Kite Man. Since Batman has so many villains, it was inevitable that some were bound to be silly. And as a way to poke fun of the wacky Batman time period as well as the villains, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini created Condiment King for Batman the Animated Series, who, much like Harley Quinn, ended up being adapted to the comics and other media as well. Mr. Freeze was also a joke character in the comics until his origin was changed for the Batman Animated Series, where he started off as a scientist by the name of Victor Freeze, trying to cure a disease his wife has. It's a tragic backstory and so good that it became a replacement for his old one, and has become the backstory going forward. So in the hypothetical that Lord Deathman gets adapted to the big screen, I'm sure minor changes to his backstory could be made if needed. But again, he's already perfect as is, so that should largely be unnecessary. Even if he doesn't show up in the next Batman film with Robert Pattinson, at least some Batman film or game would be neat. I'm not saying I see him as the headlining villain in a Batman film, but at least even a minor role would be cool. Especially because of his skeletal design, and he's also a Japanese mobster, which is also something unique because there aren't too many Batman villains that reside outside of Gotham. And again, it's just so funny how much of a troll he is by being able to fake his death. It's not likely to happen, but I'd love to see it at least somewhere down the line. But anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and until then, I can't wait to see how the next Batman film turns out. Take care.